Okay, everyone. This is a interesting reading on Jason Rice. Jason Rice is a supposed whistleblower on cosmic disclosure. Talks about advanced technology involving aliens, UFOs, things of that nature. And he has some pretty wild out there claims. So I thought it would be interesting to do a reading on him. This doesn't necessarily prove that he is telling the truth or that he is lying. You know, so I'm not saying that I have the ultimate answer to that, but I do have what came to me as insight when I did a reading tuning into him energetically. So I'm going to read or use my notes to help me remember what it was that I was seeing so that I can explain it to you right now. So when I tuned into Jason Rice, I saw his overall frequency as like a kind of a dark green and a very kind of humbled, calm, very settled type of energy. As in, it's not all kind of all over the place, but it's more like time has let things settle, if that makes any sense. So, anyways, what I was seeing immediately was him with a machine gun, like on the ground, like shooting this machine gun, like on this like dusty ground. Something out of like a military scene, and he was battling, and just the sense of being desperate for his life. I do want to say though, for those of you who may be new to watching my videos and my readings, that my readings some of the times are very literal, and some of the times they're not necessarily literal because I see things as visions, which can be literal, but they can also be more symbolic in nature. So keep that in mind. However, that's what I was seeing. Um, I was also seeing a lot of armored gear that almost resembled somewhat of like a cyborg type of outfit. And there's definitely a military theme here, so that checks out. Next thing I saw was this is definitely more of a metaphor, or symbolic, I should say. A picture of him holding up the earth as a marble. And it was really confusing because at first I saw him and I was like, he ate it, and I was like, that's weird. And I was like, what does that mean? And then I saw again him holding it, and then it was like he kind of smashed it and crumbled it and like flicked it away like it was nothing. And so when I tuned in deeper to try to understand what these visions that I was seeing were meaning, what I got was that the earth is just another marble to him. Just like many, it's not a big deal. And then I was seeing like some crazy like monster creatures like kind of coming at him and trying to attack him. But it was like he was sitting there very calm and collected on this couch, and it was as if it didn't even matter because they weren't even real. And then I connected it up that this was something from his memory that he was kind of thinking about, and that's why he's just sitting there and it's not really affecting him. I did get the sense that he is a very calm, collected person and very well balanced individual. He's sad on some level, though, was what I was seeing him with a ring, and a lot of the times in many of my readings I talk about seeing a ring, and that's not necessarily like somebody's married, it's more like they're connected to something. And so this was, for me, what this meant was there was something he was missing from the past that is no longer available to him. And this has to do with kind of all the chaotic things that I was just talking about. However, he is in acceptance of where he is now, and I got that he is full of wild stories, which I guess that's pretty obvious, but regardless, that was coming up. I'm seeing him as far as him in like modern time, as in like current time, I should say, keeping his head low within society, trying to fit into society, that being a thing for him. And he's really just simple, enjoying being in society for what it is, just not necessarily trying to achieve more or trying to do this or trying to do that, just simply being able to exist and kind of coexist within society is very rewarding for him, and he's enjoying that. He is looking for security and stability, though. Specifically, security, so he can feel secure. I get that he is unsure of the future, but he's happy where he is, integrating himself into society and just kind of living a, I don't want to say normal, but maybe simple life. Maybe that's the better way of putting it. And he's definitely an individual here. I see him being by himself a lot. I don't see him being surrounded by other people at all. And I could be wrong here, but he does seem like, I would assume from what I was seeing, that he was probably single, because I didn't see him around any women or anything like that. Although I shouldn't jump to conclusions here, but what I was getting was that he's definitely very individualistic. That I can say for sure. The next thing I saw, which was kind of out there, was him. It was like a vision, of course. This could be literal or it could be more symbolic. But I saw him kneeling. Well, first of all, before that, I saw him kind of walking around in town, and there was like kind of like behind him, like in the back of his head, like on the back burner, so to speak, there was like these beings who were kind of like governmental, very high up there, but they weren't. They were like strange creatures, right? And so these could be energy beings, or they could be like physical, literal entities. I don't know. This is just what I was seeing. But they were insectoid beings, and he was kneeling to them. In the next scene that I saw, he was when I asked, "Who are these beings? What's his relationship to them?" I saw him kneeling to them, and it's as if they had granted him freedom, and that's kind of how he found his way into the city. And it was as if I got the sense that there was some sort of duty he had with them, like there was some sort of agreement he made. And then when I tuned more into that, what I got was that there was a kind of like he got caught up, so to speak, in the web of collective beings agreements, if that makes any sense. Like there's like many different types of authorities within the universe, and he's kind of caught up within like this like system of all these authorities kind of coming down and regulating things. So it wasn't like he was necessarily working for one side or the other. He's just kind of in the jumble, like he's like in the washing machine, kind of spinning around. He doesn't really, you know, caught up in the web of that. It's the best way I can put that. The next thing, when I was trying to tune more back into like him and like what he's about, I saw him with headphones in his ears, and he was trying to read this book, and it was like there was all this craziness going on behind him trying to distract him, and he was like trying to focus. He was like trying to tune everything out, like read his book with his headphones in, and like just like leave me alone, like stop making all this noise, I don't want to listen to you right now. And when I kind of tuned more into like what is all this stuff going on that he's trying to ignore, I got that it had something to do with a call to arms, or I guess you could say like his duty, and like, or it's not necessarily that he has duty to serve, but it's also just the like the bigger picture, the, you know, kind of all the craziness that's going on, whatever that may be, that he's aware of, that not necessarily other people are aware of, but the stuff, whatever's going on, he doesn't really want to be involved with. Not that he doesn't want to be involved with, but he wants to be more focused in on his individual life and be able to, you know, live his life, I guess you could say, as an individual. So because he's on Cosmic Disclosure, I wanted to see how he related to Cosmic Disclosure, because I did the same thing with Corey Good, which was interesting. If you haven't seen that one, you should probably check that video out. But regardless, when I wanted to see like how does he relate to Cosmic Disclosure, I saw him being very lost. It was as if he walked in and he was just like, whoa, like what's going on here, like almost like he doesn't even know where he is, what to expect, what are these people going to think of him, and he had difficulty expressing himself. I saw a picture of him, which again I think is more symbolic than literal, but it was like he was sitting on a chair in front of like an audience of people, and with the Cosmic Disclosure people around him on stage, and he had like pictures and like a picture book, and he was turning the pages, showing them the picture book, but it was like he was sick in his stomach, and it was like he was kind of getting dizzy, and he was like falling forward, and it was almost like he couldn't, I think it's called vertigo, where you kind of lose your balance, and it was like he was almost like leaning forward, and it was like he was gonna fall off the chair almost, but it was more like he just couldn't like control himself to sit back up from this like sick, dizzy, kind of off balance energy that seems to be affecting him. And it was almost as if he was losing consciousness and him trying to tell his story. I got that he's afraid of his story being questioned and that being a big deal for him. He's unsure of himself when it comes to his story on Cosmic Disclosure. And I did get the sense that he is, not that he was looking behind him, but the sense that he needs to look behind him, and that there are like these kind of beings behind him on the back burner, kind of like, you know, when you feel like you have to look over your shoulder or watch what you're doing. That was definitely coming up. And I also got the sense that for him, telling his story is kind of like gambling, and that's kind of where this nervousness was, and he was a little scared to go on the show. And that during the process of telling a story makes him kind of want to hide and potentially even cry was showing up, although I don't think that's so literal as much as more like kind of like the energy behind him. I don't necessarily think that was literal, but I did get the sense that his body was very shaken up from this experience. And I saw a picture of him like as if he was like throwing himself on the ground to be crucified. It was kind of the idea here, and it was just kind of like he'd almost just like given up, like fainted or something, but not so much that he fainted, but it was more intentional. He just kind of like laid down. He's just like, I'm just gonna lay it all out and just, but it's like his physical body is like doing it, and he's just laying down, and he's just like he just collapsed, and he's just like, here it is, here I am, and some sense of that being like he's being crucified. Also, a very strong sense of him being shy and being traumatized. I did get the sense that through all of this experience of cosmic disclosure, it was like he was playing a board game. This is the way that I saw it, and he won the game, and he got and then he won a bunch of money, and he was excited because he's like, all right, I did it, I won, I won the money. So there's that, and then funny, I immediately after seeing that, I saw him giving a high five to Jay Widener, who was the second host on Cosmic Disclosure. The first host was David Wilcock, I believe, and then after him it was Jay Widener for a little while. And I saw them giving a high five, which then led me into wanting to look at how he relates to the rest of the people on the show, at least some of them, not all of them, but I had to look at him and Corey Good, and so when I tuned into their relationship, I saw Jason Rice kind of making eye contact with Corey Good, and it's almost like the eye contact coming from Corey Good was like sharp and like almost like painful, and he was like, ooh, like it was sharp, and he kind of wanted to soften it, so he kind of moved back in his chair a little bit, like, you know, like, and it was very passive, and was kind of like, ooh, I'm just gonna soften this, let it go, don't want to, you know, make things worse. So that's the gist of his relationship with Corey Good. When I asked about Dr. Robert Wood, he comes on the show later down the series. I haven't even watched the full thing, but he's more of he talks about what people have done. He's kind of more of a researcher type of person. But anyways, so this was an interesting reaction with Jason Rice. When asked their relationship, Dr. Robert Wood, Jason Rice's face kind of went white as if he'd seen a ghost, and it was like he was confused and bewildered, and it was like almost like his eyes were kind of like in cartoons where somebody's eyes kind of like just like get all scrambled, and they're not like their real eyes. Kind of like a sense of somebody being like a deer in the headlight type of effect, and him being unsure what to think. So that was an interesting, kind of unexpected response that I saw there for him. When I tuned into him and Ricardo Gonzalez, and he's someone in the show who kind of talks about Apunians, I think is how it's said. I could be wrong, but he's talking about his personal experience with aliens, and he didn't go through any sort of like secret space program or anything like that. Or SSP as it's called, he went through, or he just kind of found ETs on his own through his own spiritual means and his own investigation into Peru and things like that. And so I got the sense that Jason Rice really likes Ricardo Gonzalez and can really relate to him. So when I asked about Emery Smith, this was a very interesting one. I saw him leaning back in his chair from Emery Smith as if like he's very toxic. It was like he was like kind of like leaning way back and he's like kind of like putting his hands up in front. He's like, ooh, like almost as if he's trying to like push him away, like energetically, as if he was toxic or something like that. That was the response that he had. And when I tuned into what this is about, I got that Jason Rice perceives Emery Smith as being kind of more like corporate interests are involved. That might not be true, but that's kind of the gist of his perception of it. Not saying that is or is not true, but I'm just saying that's what came up for me for his perception of Emery Smith. And what I got was him kind of like pointing at him and being like, this guy's lying. And then him kind of making fun of him by going, all aboard, and like saying like, get on the boat, and like getting on the boat, which is like to take people down the wrong route, to mislead people. And when I asked kind of what this is about, it was about specifically spirituality, and kind of connecting dots and those kind of false conclusions based on that. And when I asked more, okay, so like, what is it about Emery Smith that Jason Rice is so appalled by? Another thing that came up was he sees him as twisting things around, kind of twisting the truth. I got that he kind of believes Emery Smith's earlier stuff to be a little more plausible, and he doesn't have any problem with that, but it's kind of like once you get further into his story, he starts kind of making conclusions, and he views it as him putting on a show and lying. Specifically, what he doesn't like about him that I was getting was his spiritual philosophy and kind of coming to blanket statements about things based off of his own perception or philosophy and spiritual perspective on situations, and kind of just making a statement that he might not necessarily have any idea about, but it's just part of his spiritual philosophy, I guess you could say. And so that's what Jason Rice was opposed to the most, because it seemed to him to be just completely lies, from his perspective, which could potentially be just that he believes otherwise. Regardless, moving on. So I don't remember what this guy's name was, but the southern accent guy, who developed rockets. Anyways, when I asked about him in relation to Jason Rice, I got that Jason Rice was very happy and excited to be around him and his energy, and it actually kind of made him more talkative. So very positive in his eyes. David Wilcock, in regards to Jason Rice was kind of like laying on a couch and like kind of bored, and it was like he was rolling his eyes and he was like, yeah, whatever. So seems to be kind of where they stand, the way that I'm seeing it at least. So, in the conclusion of all of this, I did also get that Jason Rice is hiding some truth regarding his affiliation of working for other interests, and this is the way that it showed up for me is beings that come from all over different places, and his kind of working for them, working for one side, working for the other side. It's not really working for any side, but there was something he was kind of hiding. He wasn't talking about, and it was like he was kind of working for like this jumbled up um, duty, like, for lack of a better word, that's just like not really working for one side or the other, just kind of this weird collective agreed duty, if that makes any sense. And he's kind of caught in the web of that. But I was also getting that there was some aspect of him where he made an agreement or some type of deal, and this could be more like a spiritual agreement, or sometimes people call it spiritual contracts, or more of like a literal deal. I can't say which one for sure, but I do get the sense that he's made a deal, um, and this is affecting like how he's gotten where he is in life, and this seems to be a big deal, that he's kind of not necessarily working for, well, I guess this is kind of like a personal deal for him, and for some reason this seems to be something that he's kind of skirting over, not really wanting to make a big deal about. So anyways, that's my reading for Jason Rice. That may have been a bit far out there. Anyways, don't forget to give me a thumbs up for this video for the YouTube algorithms, as well as don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit the bell notification and set it to all so you can see my future videos when they come out. If you would like a private reading from me, I do private readings. Currently, I do an hour for $80. I also do a half hour, or I can do longer than an hour as well, if you would like. I also do energy healings. I also do written readings where you can send a question through text and I can respond in text rather than in person, or I mean over Zoom or over the phone, that is. It's usually how I do it. I also have a Patreon page where I teach just about how to become aware of your energy and how to learn to tune into things clairvoyantly, psychically, whatever you want to call it. So I will put all the links to that below this video, so be sure to check that out. And thank you for watching, and have a great day.